If you are a Prisma Health physician or executive, you may have been offered something called the PCAP. It promises tax free growth and a bigger nest egg for retirement. Before you sign anything, here's what it actually is and the parts that are easily overlooked. My name is Brett Swisher. I'm a former Vanguard financial advisor and a CFP at Sturkey Wealth Management. A couple quick disclosures. First, if you're not a Prisma employee, this could still apply to you. These kinds of plans are common at nonprofits, especially in the medical field. And second, I'm not officially associated with Prisma in any sense. But due to our firm's location in Columbia, South Carolina, and our partnership with Curus Financial Credit Union, we've run into this a couple times. So, with that being said, let's get into it. PCAP stands for the Prisma Capital Accumulation Plan. It's a voluntary benefit aimed at highly compensated physicians and executives. Here's the problem it tries to solve. Prisma is a nonprofit, so the usual executive savings tools are limited. For profit companies have all sorts of fancy stuff they can do for their executives. Think about restricted stock units or any other type of equity compensation. This isn't the case for nonprofits. Contributions to a 403b, which is the nonprofit cousin of the 401k, get capped quickly for high earners. And the same can go for a 457 plan. PCAP is designed to give big earners one more tax advantaged place to save. You contribute a part of your compensation before tax, and Prisma adds a 15% expense offset on top of every dollar you put in. For a big firm like Prisma who wants to keep its doctors happy, you might be able to see why it's being offered. Now, let's get into how it works. PCAP is built on an Index Universal Life Insurance Policy, or IUL. That is a permanent life insurance policy with an investment feature tied to a market index like the S&P 500. Each contribution gets split into two parts. Roughly 12 to 15% goes to a recovery allocation, which funds a death benefit that gets paid back to Prisma when you pass away. The remaining 85 to 88% funds your benefit allocation, the part that actually builds your cash value. Your cash value tracks an index, and it has a floor of 0%, so a down market doesn't really reduce your balance, but it also has a cap, which limits how much you earn in a strong year. Down the road, the idea is to pull money out using tax-free policy loans against the policy. So, what can be attractive here? Your contributions go in pre-tax, which lowers your taxable income today, and your growth accumulates without being taxed along the way. Money taken out as policy loans come to you tax-free. Second, you're fully vested immediately, including that 15% Prisma offset, and your balance is shielded from Prisma's creditors. 15% is real money, and it can help cover the policy's costs. Third, for a high earner who has already maxed out a 403b and a 457, the PCAP opens up another tax advantage savings bucket. Prisma's own illustrations show it producing a higher net benefit than putting down the same amount of money in a taxable account. All right, so let's move on to the negatives, and now's the part to slow down a little bit. PCAP is an IUL, and IULs draw heavy criticism from independent financial voices. The White Coat Investor, a well known education site for doctors, lays out the main concerns, and I'll go over them, including some of my own. Fees are large and front loaded. There is a premium load of around 6% and an acquisition charge. The ongoing cost of the insurance that rises as you age, and an annual policy fee. Critics note that the IUL policies can take 10 to 15 years just to break even with all the fees. Cap and floor are less generous than they sound. Your index credit typically ignores dividends, which have historically made up a large share of total market returns. And somebody might say to you, but so and so. The S&P 500 only has a 1.7% dividend return over the long run, and to that I would say 1.7% adds up over time. And in many IUL contracts, the insurer can lower the cap or your participation rate later at its own discretion. This is very important, and it is a very real risk. If your cap or participation rate gets lowered, that is a significant hamper on returns, and that could equate to tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars lost. The return is calculated on your cash value, which is smaller than the total you contributed after fees come out. So a 10% credit on your cash value does not equal 10% on everything you paid in. Policy loans carry interest, commonly around 5 to 6%, which quietly saps your future compounding. Quick note here, what I've seen in my personal experience, though, is a little bit lower, around 2%, which is better. There are commitment and liquidity strings. PCAP will want at least 3 years of contributions with 5 years encouraged and a minimum of $30,000 a year. Leaving early can shrink your benefit. There's also an overfunding risk. Push too much in, and an IUL can become a modified endowment contract or MEC. This strips away the tax free loan treatment and can trigger penalties before age 59 and a half. And consider the incentives. Outside firms design and administer these plans, and they earn fees and commissions doing so, so it's worth understanding who gets paid. So, if a PCAP is on the table for you, here are practical steps. First, as a general rule, max out your 403B and 457 first. They're going to be simpler and a lot cheaper. Second, ask for a current in-force illustration and ask what return assumption it uses. A 6% gross assumption is common in these projections and may be optimistic. Third, ask directly, what are the total first year and ongoing fees? Can the cap and participation rate change in the future, and how much commission is being paid? Fourth, compare the projected net return against a lower cost portfolio held within a taxable account. Fifth, consider running the whole thing past a fee-based fiduciary advisor. So, quick recap. PCAP is a pre-tax IUL-based plan for high-earning Prisma physicians and executives. The tax features in the 15% match are real perks. The fees, caps, loan costs, and lock-in are the trade-offs. And IULs are very controversial and for good reason. One important note, this video is for general education and it is not financial, tax, or legal advice. Confirm every detail with your Prisma HR and the plan administrator and talk to your own advisor before you decide. Sturkey Wealth Management is an independent financial planning and investment management firm located right here in Columbia, South Carolina. Our office is located right near Lake Murray Dam on the Lexington side, although we do serve employees all across the Carolinas. Because of our partnership with Curious Financial Credit Union, we work with Prisma employees every week. We can help provide guidance around these types of accounts if you feel like you need assistance. Below will be a link to our website, and if you have any questions, I would encourage you to give us a call. I hope this was helpful. Have a good rest of your day.